Alright guys, it's time for some playtime. I have a piece of, this is just colored mat board. It's a 7 by 5, 7 inches wide, 5 inches tall. I've loosely drawn on the outline of a head of a whole bunch of little tiny pink flowers with a couple leaves in the background. I'm using this green of the background as the dark green in my painting, so I don't have to paint that part. I like that. I used a cream colored watercolor pencil from Arteza, and I'm going to be painting using the Arteza Gouache. I like that I can get fine details, I can overlap colors, and I can mix any colors that I don't have. And right now I'm just going to be using a bunch of colors that are already on my palette. Many of those colors, I have lilac and crimson and ultramarine, orange, sap green, lemon yellow, black and white. And yeah, we're just going to get started playing here. I do have a jar of clean water over to the side. I'm going to be really careful when I rinse my brush out that I wipe it off on a towel to make sure that there's no beads of water. I want to start off with these pink flowers in here. So what I need is some of this crimson red. There's a little bit of white already here on it, and some white. I'm just going to mix this up right here. The gouache does dry fairly quickly, and I'm using a glass cutting board. This is a piece of tempered glass with little silicone feet on it that keep it from sliding around. When my paint dries on my palette, I am spritzing it like that. With this just was an eyeglass spritzer, so it's very nice and fine. So I've got that one, and now I'm taking just a little bit of the pink and I'm working it into another area of the white so I can have a softer pink. And then I'll probably pick up a little bit of that lavender and make an even different pink, almost purpley pink. There, that gives me some. I can still pick out some of that white that's right there too. I think I'm going to take my middle pink right now and just start putting in some flowers. Now, I may paint over parts of this bumblebee. So what I'm going to do now is, first off, I'm just going to go in and start dancing in a few of these little pink flowers. And I'm letting the brush do the work for me. They are out of focus, and I'm letting the green be the dark shadow in the background. See, look at that. There's a couple flowers that, even though they're out of focus, you can kind of see that they have 4 petals. They're like little, almost like little lilacs. I think they're kind of more like the buddleia. I'm not sure if they're exactly that, but there's something along those lines, kind of like a butterfly bush. So we're just going to make some flowers here, and mostly it's just making little petal lines, and some of them will actually work out to being flowers, and we'll go put centers in some of them. But first off, we just want to get some little flowers in. Just to fill this up. So I will probably go into fast forward on this little bit, just because all I'm doing is tapping and going back and forth. So see you in just a second. Okay, I'm about 2/3 the way done with those flowers. I decided, I'm done being quiet. I want to talk. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I want you to know that all the information for all of the materials are down below in the more information box. And that you are welcome to leave me any questions that you have about this type of painting. I am a beginner. I am learning how to do this as I show you. I've not painted this particular painting before. This is my first go at it. So if it turns out and you happen to see it, thank you for watching. You know, sometimes you just have to pick up a paintbrush and just start playing, letting the colors flow around. And look at this. You've seen what I've done. This is not, highly precise or anything like that, but doesn't it look like a lovely bundle of flowers? And I think there's one real flower that got painted right there. That's the only one that I painted a flower. Everything else has just pretty much been tap, 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 and letting the color just come off the brush, flipping the brush around randomly. I am really not planning this out right now. I like this though. I really trying to milk this as far as I can, get all of the flowers put in. I like how the mat board is actually taking this paint. And I know mat board is not an actual painting surface, and it can warp if you get it too soaking wet. I learned that when I was doing my paint pouring, that it could all bow and buckle and stuff like that. But with gouache, you're painting so limited on the amount of water that you're using. There we go. Maybe put a few more that are a little bit more focused. But I like how the mat board color is actually working with this and creating a lovely effect, like having those shadows deep in the flower already. A little bit more water. Just maybe grab a little of that purple that's right there. Just want to get a couple little detailed edges. A little bit cleaner on those little flowers right there. But I'm just using the brush and letting the brush do the work. We're going to take some more white, I think. I want a little more white. And sort of mix that in here. Grab a little touch of that crimson. See, by taking that little bit more white, we create a bit more of an opaque color. Now I'm painting a few little flowers on here and there. 4 petals, trying to be 4 petals. Some of them are only 3. Just a few here and there. And maybe just a few more solid petals here and there also. You do want flowers going all the way up. This is the top of his head right here. That's his thorax. This is the abdomen. And then his wings are going over it. And then his legs are coming off of the thorax. I went and learned those names just so that I could say, you know, this part and that part. There we go. Just about done with those going in like this. A few little flowers here and there on top. Colors dry differently on dark backgrounds. These lighter tones are going to dry much brighter looking on this dark background than they would if they were on a light background. Take a little bit of that white here and there and here. Just tap, 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 tap. We're not being precise. As a benefit for my subscribers and viewers, anybody who happens to watch my video, Arteza does have a coupon code available for my viewers, and you can click that down below in the more information. The brushes that I'm using are listed down below also. All right, look at that. Now I want to take some yellow and orange. So I'm going to actually go over to that lemon yellow right there, and it already has a little bit of orange on it. All right, getting some of that yellow and orange together, sort of brighten up that orange just a smidge. If your paint is kind of extra watery, you can lay it against a paper towel just on the belly, this wide part right here, and let it absorb some of the water out. Now I can go in and say, okay, that's kind of where the center of a flower is. That's where the center of a flower is. Just a few of them here and there. I'm not going to go too crazy. Just a few here and there. Just because it brightens it up, gives it a little bit more life. You're not seeing very much back there. A couple here and there. Now, if I wanted to go in and do anything near those bright orange dots, I'm going to want to let that dry. There we go. Very pretty. Now what I think I'm going to do is just leave that alone for a minute. I'm not even going to worry about taking that orange off my brush. I'm going to go up here to this green. With the orange in my brush. And see about getting some of that green. That green up there was made with the sap green and the ultramarine blue, then mixed with some orange. So adding this orange to it is no big deal. Just made it a little bit more of an earthy green instead of a turquoisey green. The ultramarine blue with the sap green went kind of turquoisey. And now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and just paint in a couple leaves with a slightly brighter green than the background. Gouache has this lovely kind of chalky, velvety type of look to it when it dries. And that watercolor pencil is just going to fade away. You're not even going to notice it by the time I'm done. But I just wanted to get a couple leaves here. And I should have probably put the leaves in first before I had done the flowers. So if you're just watching along, you might want to put your leaves in first before you do your flowers. but I can make it work. Because that green background, you can go almost up to the flowers and not all the way. Ooh, that's nice. What I did is I took a tiny touch of white and I mixed it with some of that orangey and then picked up some of the green. I'm kind of making up my leaves. Yes, I do have a reference. It's listed down below in the more information box. And you can see that I'm not exactly following the reference. Giving myself a few leaves and brightening up some areas. So let's see. I'm going to take, there's a little bit of a yellow and orange that was sort of mixed up here together with white. Made sort of a creamy color. I'm taking that onto my green. Because right next to the flower, and we are sort of zoomed in, there's a lighter color leaf, lighter color edge to a leaf. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. Sort of like where the sunlight is just hitting it. Right up against the flowers, and it kind of goes in underneath, but then all you have to do is stop painting it and it will look like it's going in underneath of it. See how it sort of fades into that green. And then I'm going to take some more of my mixed up green. I didn't wash the brush. I'm just picking up colors. But I'm telling you what they were mixed with originally. So now I'm just moving it around a little bit, right up to the edge of those flowers on that part right there. Maybe I'll pull that. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull that all the way down. Coming off the edge. We're really zoomed in on this. We want our little bumblebee to show up nice and big, so we're really zoomed in. And then maybe I'll go a little bit darker green. And maybe I'll even add some blue to it. You know, the nice thing about gouache is that you can just keep going back and using it until it's all gone. And you'll get some magical mixes of colors. And I know some people really, really can't deal with a messy palette. I like seeing colors that I've already used before in another spot and go, oh yeah, I could use that, and just mix it in. It does make it a little bit harder for other people following my video, but what I'm showing you is that it's a little bit bluer, a little bit darker, and it's just going down off the edge of the page, or the edge of the board. I'll pick it up here for you in just a second so you can see how it's actually working with the wet media going on here. I want you to see it's perfectly flat. Nothing is leaking through. This is just some of the standard mat board. I think we got a big packet of it from a frame shop. They'll have offcuts, and these were like the centers of some bigger mats. Just letting that make some texture. Some of this darkness that you see is just because that board is wet. So, you know, I'm not too worried here about making this totally perfect and totally, that's going to be interesting. Let's go and grab some more. totally perfect, totally realistic. We're basically just laying some colors in the background. And if you look at that reference, it does have some of those kind of blue tones popping in. I could be doing this with a bigger brush, but I didn't grab one out. And again, we could have gone in and done the leaves before painting in the flowers. But, I'm okay with this. Let's see, we're going to just make indications. We're not doing perfect representations. I think maybe I'll grab some of the orange and put that in there. That sort of sparks up that green a bit. And there's sort of the weedy bits that are up there at the top. So let's just grab some of that. We're not going to make those perfect. We're not. But I'm just giving it sort of an indication of maybe the flowers that have passed. There we go. We're getting really close to doing the bumblebee. Cool. I'm just taking some more of that orange and yellow and just making like little dried out flower. Just tap, tap, tap. Works really well over that sort of blue-green. There we go. A little bit of a faded out background. The only thing I want to do, I think, is maybe add something over here. And I think maybe it'll be a little bit of that orange. Be kind of the inside back of some leaves. There we go. Just little things like that. I really am just having fun and exploring and playing. Ooh, picked up a little bit of white into that. That's nice. I think I'm going to go and put some of that over here also. When you're tapping in dots, you want to rotate your brush, turn it around. Don't tap from the same direction every time, because if you do, you will end up just making repeating design all over the place. You don't want that to happen. Unless you want it to happen. If you wanted something to be absolutely perfect, or to be a repeating design, kind of like if you wanted scales on a fish, find an angle on your brush that you like and keep it at that angle. But for me right now, these are dried up flower bits that are in the background. So I really don't want them to be too consistent. And mostly I'm just trying to get some texture. Oh yeah. Ooh. Okay, so I just saw something in this picture. And there is up over to this side of that flower head, there's kind of faded out bit that is a lot less saturated. And they have kind of little, whoops, that's got a chunk. They're in the shadows. And it's just a little bit of them coming down this edge. I think I just want to get that little indication. Oh, yep. That's what I wanted. Now that I've got that, I can make a few of these have almost flower little like flower petal look. And then maybe just a tiny bit of some lighter color. Turn this around. Make it easier to make some little petals. Use the brush to its advantage, pointy bit pointing out of those petals. Okay, I want it to come down onto that green leaf a little bit. Be careful when you're going down onto things like that, because you will lift up the paint underneath if you scrub too hard. Oh, this is making me so happy. I hope it's making you happy too. Remember, that's one of the reasons why we do art. We do art to make ourselves happy. Yes, I'm doing art because it's my sort of my avocation, the job that I chose now to do versus the job that I was doing for over 20 years. I am so much happier getting to do my artwork. All right. And I could just keep playing and keep layering this. And I think I'm just going to work that off the edge. Doop, doop, doop. Right over that orange that's there. Because I like that play of the orange and that purple against each other. A little bit of white. Tap, tap. A little bit more. There. And maybe I'll take some of that crimson to make some little centers on these. Just a few here and there. Mixing with the white on the brush. You notice I did not clean my brush out. That's sweet. All right, so now that cute fuzzy bumblebee, starting off, softening up that orange right here and lay in over the top of that green a bit of this orange. We're just going to lay the colors in first. It has a little bit of white in it also because that yellow and orange that were right here were mixed with a bit of white. There's so many different kinds of bumblebees. Let's see here. So this, he has a little black head. He has an orange stripe that's nice and big and fluffy. Then he has a black body, the thorax. It's going to be black. And then he has a bit more black there. And then it goes orange. Okay. So we're on the orange bit right here. And yes, I am painting it out into the flowers a bit. And I'm just going to work it a little. And you see how that petal, those flowers just became part of the bumblebee. And I'm going to paint this all on. Then we will put his wings on, because his wings are going to be mostly a white and cream. So we've got Bumblebee there, and then we need a little bit of right tucked down deep. And you're not seeing all of the parts of this bumblebee because he's curved down and around. Let's see. I think that little band needs to go like this. It's hidden under his wing, so I'm guessing on that little bit right there. And now this color is shifting to the green side of things right now because of that darker color. But, and right now it looks like he has a tutu. Let's pull that up just a little bit. And then when we put his black in, right here, it will start to make more sense. I don't want the black to be perfectly black. I want it to be, there we go, more like a burnt umber. So this brown color that's right here, this was mixed with the orange and the lavender, the lilac. So orange and lilac were put together and it made this really pretty, almost burnt sienna brown. So now we're going to get the top of his little head in right here. Okay. And then we're going to put his little thorax, the black part of his thorax in. He's this lovely fuzzy bumblebee. We'll come back and give him a better fuzz in a minute. And then this is pretty much black under here. Nice thing with that green. When you get it wet, it goes dark. Okay, and then we're just gonna tap this in right up to the edge of that orange. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of this dark color out here. And that will help us when we go to put his legs on and put the rest of the fuzzies. But this is not going to be a scientific representation of a bumblebee. This is definitely a fun little garden version. Oh, he's getting all fuzzed. Just fuzz this little guy up. So we've got like a fuzz going on here. So I'm going to pull some of that black in to give us the shadow around the edge and a little bit of texture coming into his orange. We'll do the same thing here. But most of this is hidden underneath of his wing. But there's sort of like a shiny bit right here. So we'll just go and make him a shiny bit. I just went searching for some colors. So I picked up some blue and some white and just like that. Ooh, maybe. There. And then what we'll do is we'll take sort of in this margin where it's shadowy. It's a little bit more almost reddish orange on this little guy. I mean, we're not going to make this perfect, but it makes it nice to have some shadows in that are a little bit not black. And then I may take some more of that orange in there again. See, look at that. Just boom, boom, boom. You don't have to be super... Oh my gosh! He is coming in. Oh, I love it. Okay, I am going to take just a tiny little dark... Tiny little bit darker. That and that maybe. That burnt umber brown type of color with some of that crimsony color to go back here at the back by his little back end. Oh, that works really well as sort of a shadowy color anyway. Maybe in on the brown, or brown in on the black a little bit also. Just helps with his little hairy bits. Mr. Little Fuzzy Bumble. Fuzzy Bumble. All right. But this up here still has to be furry because that's actually part of his fuzzy head and not part of the... Because his whole head is curved down. So that's still furry bit. So we need to fuzz that out just a little bit. Tiny little tip. This has the tiniest little tip. So you can get itsy bitsy little lines. You're not limited in the least. You can get tiny little fuzzy lines. There we go. Now I want to put his legs on and then put his... Yeah, we need to darken that bit up right there. Put his legs on and then put on his wings. And we'll call him done. So I need a bit more of that dark color. Now his legs are not going to be anatomically correct. They will be semi-correct. All of his legs come off of the body here, the thorax. So this leg comes back. Sort of the thigh. Then the calf. And then his little foot. And it has those little hooks on it. Oh, that one worked. Now let's see if we can do that again. We come back. Make the thigh. Make the calf. And make his little hookity foot. Aha! All right. Those are the hardest ones. The position that this bee is in, you only see 4 of his legs. You don't see all 6 legs. There's a bit of a node right here. It sort of comes out. And on this side, it sort of comes out a little bit farther. That's like the thigh or upper arm. And then the rest of his, you don't see much. It's kind of like that. And you don't see his antennas. After this is dry, there'll be a couple little highlight spots dropped onto his legs and a brighter highlight right there. But for now, we are going to go and put his wings in. And because his wings are folded back over his back, they are overlapped and you only see one layer of the wings. They have 4 wings. They have a top wing and a bottom wing. But the little wing is underneath, so you don't see it on here. And there's a starting point right here and a starting point right here. We're going to go and, let's see, is this one? Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to take it, come down, wiggle out. Might need to put a little bit more white into that. Out. Comes out over the flowers. And then comes back in. Sort of like that. And again, it's not perfect, and it doesn't have to be. It just has to give you the idea that this is a bumblebee. And the wings crossed. And then it comes back down this way. A little bit of fullness on that side. And then we're going to get a watery version. Okay, you see this? We have water drop. Water drops on the brush. You don't want those. They will stop and they will drop and they will hit your painting at the most inappropriate time. So now I'm going to very lightly just trace on some lines. And then we will go back in and do a couple highlights. And a couple lowlights. And on the bumblebee, you can actually see through his wings to his body. And you can see some of those colors and the area underneath. So you don't have to paint these in solid. And remember, when you are drawing across it, you are picking up color from underneath also, which is really cool. You don't want a dry brushed edge on his wing. So just make sure that the wing is solid on the edge. Oh, that's so cool. So now I am going to actually take a lighter version. So just go and grab some more white. And I see there's a bit of a highlight right here. And then there's kind of a highlight coming across. And then a lot of this highlight sort of goes parallel across. And these lights kind of skip and dance. Their wings are very, very reflective of light. And now this one doesn't have as much highlight up at the top part of it, but it does have quite a bit skipping and dancing down here and coming across. Like that. And you really don't see a lot of highlight down here over the flower. And you can cross over some of your highlights because they have funny little folds and veins and things. Okay, even though the picture doesn't show it, I want a little bit more highlight there, and I want to drag that one around a little. I want to move some of these highlights. I don't really want them to be quite so dry brushy looking. Some of them ended up being that little dry brushed. All right. Now I want to take a little bit of that highlight color. I want to put a little highlight on where his thigh meets. I want to put a little highlight on his elbow. There's a bit of a highlight here. Not much, just a tiny bit. Maybe even brush it right along that edge. And this time I want it to be a little bit dry brushy. That makes it feel a little furry. And then we need a brighter highlight up on that shiny spot right there. And I do want to add just a little bit more darkness right in here. Darker, darker, darker. So I'm going to take some of that let's see, maybe take some of that orange. That's making it more browny. And then take some of that purple. There we go. And then some of the black. Making it turn more olivey, I think. That's not quite dark enough yet still. Just sort of dropping that area right there into the background. Maybe some down here. This part here it just needs to be darker. It's too bright. You know, sometimes you see things like that and you go, you know what? I can fix that. Just a little bit darker. It's just falling away down there. And then that part right there, I need maybe some of this greeny orange. Yeah. Get some of that kind of green orange going. A green orange. Orange and green just are yummy together. I don't know what it is. It just makes me really happy. Maybe it's the being a child of when I was a child, and you know, those colors make me think of my childhood. Need something over here. It's too flat. And it might just be that I go darker. Sometimes you end up with these splotches of, oh my gosh, what is she thinking? I want that leaf to go darker, and I want it to feed into that area darker. You know? Experiment, and don't be afraid to change things up if it's not working for you. See how much that's changing it just by making that bit right back there darker. It was too bright. It was coming too far forward. See, even that. Even this space right here is coming too far forward. The flowers are fine. This back part of that leaf needs to go back. See, look at that. And you need to see this. You need to see that sometimes things don't go how you're expecting it to, and you have to modify and change and adjust and adapt. And that is part of why doing art is so good for your brain, because it helps you learn to adapt. And it actually helps you learn to adapt to things more quickly. And it's amazing, but when you learn how to adapt in your paintings or in your art practice to things, it makes you, what do they say? You're more resilient. You're more resilient to the things that happen in your life. Yeah, there we go. That's making me happier. And now I do want to bring a little bit of those purple flowers down. Just so it looks like it was meant to be this way. And that it wasn't an afterthought. Because, you know, if you make it look like it's supposed to be some way, even when it is an afterthought, makes you feel better about your painting, doesn't it? Makes you feel better about the process. But this is still dark, and it's still over in the corner. They're still not the center. They're not the stars. Not the stars of this show. This is the star of this show. So I'm seeing that these gouache paintings tend to take me about an hour to do. I'm just going to work that around that. I want that little bit to be darker. And then just sort of pull through all the way out to the edge. So I hope you have been having fun, that you are enjoying learning my process. My process being, you know, sometimes things change. And that's okay. Give it a little bit of that orange right in there. A little bit of that orange and brown. It's pushed back. It's not all the way out in the front. Now it feels more like that little cute little bumblebee is sitting right where it's supposed to be. I just picked up some of that purple that had some of the orange on it, and I'm just dropping it in. And then I'll put a little bit more of the brighter purple on top again. I needed a little bit more definition in here. Just me. You don't have to do this. This is just me playing. Because I wanted it to kind of fade to the background, but then I also want to pop a little bit of it forward. Just a touch here and there. A little bit of light. Doesn't have to be a lot. And as you go down, you see how I've got less paint on my brush. It's blending out. Oh, that's nice. That's just a nice little touch. And I think I'm going to sign right over here this time. And make it that sort of purpley color. There we go. Oh my gosh. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that you will try doing your own fluffy bee on a pretty pink set of flowers. Remember, all of the information for materials is down below in the more information box. All the ways that you can help support my channel are there too. Thank you guys. Remember, go out and do something creative. Take care of yourself. so you can take care of those around you. And I hope to see you back here again really soon. Bye-bye.